The wine glass stopped halfway to his lips. Victor D'Angelo didn't freeze often. Men who froze didn't survive in his world. But the white napkin beside his plate held something that made his pulse skip. A folded note, small and deliberate, placed there by hands that shouldn't have dared. The restaurant hummed around him. La Fera on a Friday night was a cathedral of whispered deals and clinking crystal. Golden light dripped from chandeliers onto white tablecloths. The kind of place where a bottle cost more than most people earned in a week. Where power sat comfortable and everyone else served it. Victor set the glass down without drinking. His tattooed neck caught the light as he shifted, the ink crawling up from his collar like dark vines. The black dress shirt hung open just enough to show the gold crucifix against his chest. Two men flanked him, Dante on his left, always watching, and Silvano on his right, always listening. Both wore suits that hid more than they showed. The waitress who'd left the note was already walking away. Black woman, late 20s, white shirt pressed crisp under a black apron. She moved through the dining room like she'd been invisible her whole life. Graceful, tired. The kind of tired that came from working 3 jobs and still coming up short. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Victor's fingers found the note. He didn't look at his men, didn't signal anything. Just unfolded the paper beneath the table edge where no one else could see. 7 words, handwritten, steady letters that didn't shake. Your daughter is alive. She's not safe. The restaurant tilted. Sound pulled away like water, draining from a tub. His daughter had been dead for 3 years. He'd buried an empty coffin. He'd burned half of Chicago looking for the truth until grief carved him hollow. Lucia, 16 when she disappeared. Brown eyes that looked just like her mother's. A laugh that used to fill rooms. Gone, or so he believed. Victor's jaw tightened. His hand closed around the note, crumpling it slow. Dante leaned in, eyes narrowed. Boss. Nothing, Victor said. His voice came out flat, controlled, the way it always did when everything inside him was screaming. Across the room, the waitress refilled water glasses. She didn't look back, didn't check to see if he'd read it. Just kept moving, professional and distant, like she hadn't just detonated a bomb in his chest. Victor's phone buzzed. He glanced down. A text from Rocco Varela, his lieutenant. His brother in everything but blood. All clean tonight, boss. Enjoy your dinner. The words sat on the screen, innocent and routine. But something about the timing made Victor's skin prickle. He looked up, scanning the room. Exit routes. Security cameras. The waitress near the kitchen door, her back to him now. If this was real, if his daughter was alive, someone had kept her hidden for 3 years. Someone close enough to know she'd been taken. Close enough to cover it up. Someone he trusted. Dante was still watching him, concern bleeding through the usual stone face. You good? Victor nodded once. Then he stood, straightening his shirt. I need a word with the waitress, he said quietly. Outside. Silvano's hand moved toward his jacket. Victor stopped him with a look. Just me, Victor said. Wait here. He crossed the restaurant floor, each step measured, each breath deliberate. The waitress saw him coming. For half a second, something flickered in her eyes, fear, maybe, or determination. Hard to tell. She set down her tray and met him near the back hallway, away from the tables. Her name tag read Naomi. You got a second? Victor asked. His voice was low, dangerous in its calm. Naomi glanced past him toward his table, then back. Staff exit, she said. 2 minutes. She turned and walked toward the kitchen. Victor followed, his pulse hammering now, steady and loud. Behind him, Dante and Silvano shifted in their seats, confused but obedient. The alley door swung open. Cold Chicago wind hit Victor's face. Naomi stood under a flickering light, arms crossed, waiting. And for the first time in years, Victor D'Angelo had no idea what came next. Who is Naomi? And how does she know his daughter is alive? Victor's hand slammed against a brick wall beside Naomi's head, not touching her, not threatening, just close enough to make the air between them go tight. Talk, he said. Now. Naomi didn't flinch. She looked up at him, steady and calm, like she'd expected this, like she planned for it. Your daughter didn't die in that explosion, she said. She was taken. The alley spun. Victor's vision tunneled. 3 years ago, they'd told him Lucia was collateral damage. Wrong place, wrong time. A car bomb meant for him that caught her instead. They'd given him ashes. A closed casket. Enough blood evidence to make it real. He'd torn the South Side apart, looking for answers. Burned bridges. Ended lives. And when the grief finally broke him, he'd stopped asking questions. Now this woman, this stranger, was telling him it was all a lie. Prove it, Victor said. His voice came out rough. Raw. Naomi reached into her apron pocket, slow and deliberate. Victor's muscles coiled, ready. But she pulled out a photograph, small and creased, and held it between them. The flickering light caught the image. A girl in a hospital gown. Hollow eyes. Tangled hair. But the face, God, the face was unmistakable. The same curve of the jaw. The same tiny scar near her lip from a playground fall when she was 7. Lucia. Older now. Broken. But alive. Victor's breath stopped. His hand trembled as he took the photo. For a long moment, he couldn't speak. Couldn't think past the roaring in his ears. Where, he finally managed. Where is she? Hiding, Naomi said. From the men who took her. And from you. That last part hit like a knife. From me. Naomi's eyes didn't waver. She thinks you ordered it. The words gutted him. Victor stumbled back a step, the photo clenched in his fist. I would never. I know, Naomi interrupted. But she doesn't. Because the man who ran the operation told her you wanted her gone. Told her you'd kill her yourself if you ever found out she was alive. Waitress mindrist. Who would do that? Who would take his daughter and make her believe he'd betrayed her? His phone buzzed again. He yanked it out, half expecting another message from Rocco. But it wasn't Rocco. It was a calendar reminder. Dinner with Rocco tomorrow, 8 p.m. The timing clicked into place like a gun loading. Rocco Varela, his most trusted man. His right hand for 15 years. The one who'd helped him search for Lucia after the explosion. The one who'd told him to let it go when the leads dried up. Who took her? Victor said, his voice dropping to something cold and lethal. Naomi hesitated. Then she said it. Rocco Varela runs fake rehab centers on the South Side. Fronts for trafficking. Your daughter was held in one for 18 months before she escaped. The world stopped. Victor's vision went red. His chest heaved. Every instinct screamed to tear the city apart right now, to drag Rocco out and end him in the street. But Naomi stepped closer, her voice cutting through the fury. If you go after him loud, she dies. They're still looking for her. One wrong move, and they'll find her first. Victor forced himself to breathe, to think. Then what do you want me to do? Quiet justice, Naomi said. You make him disappear. No headloans. No police. Just gone. And the network collapses with him. Victor stared at her. This woman had more nerve than half his crew. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. I know your daughter, Naomi said softly. I volunteer with a program that rescues trafficked girls. She told me her real name 2 months ago, and she told me where to find you. Victor's throat tightened. Lucia had sent this woman. Had trusted her when she couldn't trust him. His phone buzzed a third time. Another text. This one from Dante. Boss, you good? Need us? Victor looked at Naomi, then at the photo in his hand, then at the phone. He typed back one word. Stay. If Rocco Varela betrayed him, what else has been a lie? The alley light kept flickering. On, off, on, like a heartbeat struggling to stay steady. Victor leaned against the wall, the photo of Lucia still gripped in his hand. His mind replayed every conversation he'd ever had with Rocco. Every handshake, every late-night drink, every time Rocco had looked him in the eye and called him brother. Lies. All of it. Naomi watched him, silent now, giving him space to process. Smart. Most people would have kept talking, filled the silence with nervous explanations. But she just stood there, arms crossed against the cold, waiting. Tell me everything, Victor finally said. His voice was steady again. The shock had burned off, leaving something sharper behind. From the beginning, Naomi nodded. 2 years ago, a raid on a building in Gary turned up 16 girls. Most were undocumented. Some were runaways. Your daughter was one of them. She called herself Lucy Rivers. Lucy. The name twisted in Victor's chest. She'd erased herself, buried the girl she used to be. She went and talked to police, Naomi continued. Wouldn't give a real name. So they handed her off to a nonprofit I work with. We help girls get back on their feet. New IDs if they need them. Therapy. Job training. Whatever it takes. And she told you about me, Victor said. Not at first. Naomi's voice softened. Took her a year to even say the name D'Angelo. She was terrified. Said if you found out she was alive, you'd finish what you started. Victor's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. Rocco told her that. Not just Rocco. Naomi pulled out her phone, scrolled through something, then turned the screen toward him. She drew this. Said it was the man who grabbed her off the street. The sketch was rough but detailed. A face Victor recognized instantly. Marco Vaz, one of Rocco's enforcers. The kind of man who didn't ask questions, just followed orders. Marco's dead, Victor said flatly. Killed in a shootout 6 months ago. Convenient, Naomi said. The word hung between them. Victor es mindrist. Marco dying right when Lucia would have been old enough to start talking. Right when she might have tried to reach out. No, not convenient. Calculated. Where is she now? Victor asked. Safe house. Lake Geneva. Small place off the grid. She's been there 3 months. Naomi's eyes locked on his. But someone's been watching me. Black SUV. Follows me after my shifts. I check the plates. Registered to one of Rocco's shell companies. Victor's pulse kicked up. They know you're helping her. Maybe, Naomi said. Or maybe they're just checking if anyone's asking questions. Either way, I had to warn you. Because if they find her before you fix this. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Victor pushed off the wall, his mind already shifting into strategy mode. This wasn't about rage anymore. Rage got people killed. This was about precision. About making sure Rocco never saw it coming. You said quiet justice, he said. How quiet? Naomi stepped closer. The flickering light caught the determination in her face. You invite him to dinner. Same table. Same routine. You record him. Get him to admit what he did. Then you make him disappear. And when the police find his files, all those fake rehab centers, all those missing girls, the whole network burns. Victor studied her. You've thought this through. I've been planning it for weeks, Naomi said. Waiting for the right moment. Tonight felt right. Smart. Dangerous. Exactly the kind of move Victor would have made himself. His phone buzzed again. He glanced down. Another text from Rocco. You still coming tomorrow? Got something big to discuss. The timing made Victor's skin crawl. What did Rocco want to discuss? Was this about Lucia? Had he figured out someone was digging? Victor looked back at Naomi. If I do this your way, I need your help. You're the only one Lucia trusts. I'm already in, Naomi said. But you need to understand something. If this goes wrong, if Rocco suspects anything, he'll kill everyone connected to her. Me, you, and her. Then we don't let it go wrong, Victor said. Naomi held his gaze for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, but I need one thing from you first. What? Promise me you won't see her until this is over, Naomi said. She's not ready. And if you show up now, she'll run. And we'll lose her forever. The words hurt more than Victor expected. His daughter was alive, and he couldn't even go to her. Couldn't hold her. Couldn't tell her the truth. But Naomi was right. One wrong move and Lucia would disappear again. This time for good. Fine, Victor said. But after Rocco's gone, you take me to her. No dilas. Deal. Victor turned toward the alley exit, then stopped. One more thing. How do I know I can trust you? Naomi's expression didn't change. You don't, but your daughter does. And right now, that's all that matters. She walked past him back toward the restaurant, leaving him alone in the alley with the photo and the weight of what came next. Victor looked down at Lucia's face one more time. Then he slipped the photo into his jacket pocket, right over his heart. Tomorrow night, Rocco Varela would sit across from him, would smile, would lie, and Victor would make sure it was the last time. But what if Rocco already knows, and tomorrow is a trap? Victor didn't go home that night. He sat in his car outside La Fera until the restaurant went dark, until Naomi walked out the staff exit, climbed into a beat-up Honda, and drove away. Then he followed her. Not close, not obvious, just enough to see if the black SUV she'd mentioned showed up. It did. 3 blocks from the restaurant. Headlights flared in Victor's rear view. A Suburban, tinted windows, keeping 2 cars back. Professional distance. The kind of tail you only noticed if you knew what to look for. Victor's hands tightened on the wheel. He pulled over, let the Suburban pass, then memorized the plate. Ran it through his contacts. 20 minutes later, the confirmation came back. Registered to a shell company Rocco controlled. Victor's chest burned. It was real. All of it. Rocco had taken his daughter. Had kept her hidden. Had made her believe her own father wanted her dead. And now Rocco's men were following the one person trying to bring her home. Victor drove to his penthouse downtown. 37th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The kind of view that used to make him feel untouchable. Tonight, it just felt empty. He poured a drink he didn't want and stood at the window, staring at the lights below. Somewhere out there, Lucia was hiding. Scared. Broken. Hating him for something he never did. His mind went back 3 years. To the night they told him she was dead. He'd been at a meeting. Dante had called, voice shaking. "Boss, there's been an explosion. Your daughter." She was in the car. Victor had driven to the scene. Seen the wreckage. The twisted metal. The blood on the pavement. Police everywhere. Fire crews hosing down what was left. Rocco had been there too. Had put a hand on Victor's shoulder. Had said, "I'm sorry, brother. This is on me. I should have seen it coming." At the time, Victor had thought Rocco meant he should have anticipated the rival gang's move. Should have protected Lucia better. Now he understood. Rocco hadn't been apologizing. He'd been confessing. And Victor had been too destroyed to hear it. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through old messages, found a thread from 3 years ago, right after the explosion. "Rocco, we'll find who did this. I swear to you. Rocco, don't go to the police. Let me handle it. Rocco, you need to let her go, Victor. The grief will kill you." Every message a carefully placed lie. Every word designed to keep Victor from digging, from asking the wrong questions. Victor's hand shook. He wanted to drive to Rocco's house right now. Wanted to drag him out and end it in the street. Wanted to make him scream. But Naomi's voice echoed in his head. "Quiet, Justice. If you go loud, she dies." Victor forced himself to breathe. To think like the strategist he'd always been. Emotion got people killed. Control kept them alive. He opened his laptop. Pulled up everything he had on Rocco's operations. The rehab centers Naomi had mentioned. The shell companies. The properties. 3 hours later, the picture came together. Rocco had been running a trafficking network for at least 5 years. Moving girls through fake rehab facilities, fake job programs, fake shelters. All hidden under legitimate business fronts. All protected by Victor's name and reputation. Lucia had been collateral. A bargaining chip Rocco had kept in reserve. Insurance, maybe in case Victor ever turned on him. Except Lucia had escaped. And now Rocco was scrambling. Victor's phone buzzed. A text from Rocco. "Looking forward to tomorrow, brother. Got news that'll change everything." The words made Victor's blood run cold. What news? Was Rocco planning to tell him Lucia was alive? Was this some sick test? Or was Rocco planning to eliminate the loose ends before Victor found out? Victor typed back carefully. "See you at 8. He set the phone down. Looked at the city again. Somewhere out there, Naomi was probably lying awake too, wondering if she'd made the right call, trusting him. And somewhere past the city limits, Lucia was in a safe house, believing her father was a monster. Victor walked to his closet, pulled out a lockbox from the top shelf. Inside was everything he'd saved from Lucia's childhood. Photos, report cards, a bracelet she'd made him in 3rd grade. He held the bracelet now, the cheap plastic beads catching the light. She'd given it to him on Father's Day. Had made him promise to wear it forever. He'd stopped wearing it after the funeral. Victor slipped it into his pocket, next to the photo Naomi had given him. Tomorrow night, he'd sit across from Rocco. Would smile. Would play the part. And when it was over, Rocco Varela would be nothing but a memory. But first, Victor had to make sure he survived the dinner himself. Victor arrived at La Fera at 7:45, early enough to control the setup, late enough not to look desperate. He'd chosen the same table, table 6, The one tucked in the corner with a view of the entrance and the kitchen. The one where he could see everyone coming and going. Naomi was already working. She didn't look at him when he walked in, just kept moving between tables, professional and distant. But as she passed his table to reset the silverware, she brushed a hand across the edge. A small device, no bigger than a button, stuck to the underside of the table. Recording device. Voice activated. Untraceable. Victor didn't react. Just sat down, straightened his collar, and waited. At 7:58, Rocco walked in. He looked the same as always. Tailored suit. Easy smile. The kind of confidence that came from never being questioned. He crossed the restaurant floor like he owned it, hand extended, grin wide. "Victor," Rocco said warmly. "Been too long, brother." They shook hands. Victor felt the weight of every lie in that grip. "Good to see you," Victor said smoothly. "Seat. I already ordered the wine." Rocco settled into the chair across from him, loosening his tie. "You look good, man. Thought you'd still be wound up from that mess on the west side." "All handled," Victor said. "You said you had news." Rocco's smile widened. "Always straight to business. That's what I love about you." He leaned back, relaxed, like they were just two old friends catching up. "I've been working on something big. Expansion. New territory. But it requires some delicate coordination." Victor sipped his wine. "I'm listening." "There's a network," Rocco continued. "Runs through Gary, South Bend, up into Michigan. Rehab centers, halfway houses, shelters. All legitimate on paper. But underneath," he lowered his voice. "Underneath, it's a pipeline. Girls come in broken, leave profitable." Victor's jaw tightened. He forced his face to stay neutral. "Trafficking. Smart trafficking," Rocco corrected. "No kidnappings. No hid loans. Just desperate people who signed the wrong paperwork. By the time they realize what's happening, they're already gone." Victor set his glass down carefully. "And you want me involved?" "I want you protected," Rocco said. "Because I've been using your name for years. Every operation runs under your umbrella. If it ever gets exposed, it traces back to you, not me." The confession landed like a bomb. Victor's pulse roared in his ears. But he kept his expression cold. Detached. "You've been using my name," Victor repeated slowly. "Without asking." Rocco shrugged. "You were distracted. After Lucia died, you stopped paying attention to the details. I saw an opportunity. Took it. Made us both richer." Victor's hand curled into a fist under the table. "And if I'd found out, you wouldn't have," Rocco said confidently. "Because everyone involved knows the rules. Keep quiet. Stay clean. And if anyone talks," he made a throat-cutting gesture. "Problem solved." Naomi appeared beside the table, silent as a shadow. "Refill, gentlemen." "Please," Rocco said, barely glancing at her. As she poured, Victor caught her eye for half a second. She gave the smallest nod. The recorder was picking up everything. "So what's the news?" Victor asked, pulling Rocco's attention back. Rocco leaned forward, voice dropping. "One of the girls from the Gary facility escaped 2 years ago. Been hiding ever since. But we finally got a lead. My guys have been tracking a woman who works with a rescue program. They think she knows where the girl is." Victor's blood turned to ice. He forced himself to stay calm. "And why does that matter?" "Because the girl talked," Rocco said. "Told the rescue people about the operation. Gave names. Locations. If she goes public, the whole thing collapses. And you go down with it. Victor es mindrist." Rocco was planning to kill Lucia. Had been planning it for months. And he was sitting here, smiling, acting like Victor would help. "So what do you need from me?" Victor asked carefully. Rocco's smile turned cold. "I need you to stay out of it. Let me handle the cleanup. By next week, the girl's gone. The woman helping her is gone. And the trail goes cold." Victor stared at him. 15 years of loyalty. 15 years of trust. And it all came down to this. Rocco sitting across from him, casually planning to murder his daughter. "When were you going to tell me?" Victor said quietly. Rocco frowned. "Tell you what? That the girl you're hunting is Lucia." The restaurant went silent. Or maybe just felt that way. Rocco's smile froze. His eyes went wide. For one perfect moment, he looked like a man realizing he'd just walked into a trap. "What are you talking about?" Rocco said slowly. Victor leaned forward. My daughter didn't die in that explosion. You took her. You hit her. And now you're planning to kill her to cover your tracks. Rocco's face drained of color. His hand twitched toward his jacket. But Victor was faster. He pulled a gun from under the table, pressed it against Rocco's ribs, hidden by the tablecloth. Don't, Victor said softly. We're in public. You make a scene, we both die. So sit. Stay calm. And listen. Rocco's breathing quickened, but he stayed still. Across the room, Dante and Silvano rose from their seats, moving toward the exits, blocking them. Naomi set down the wine bottle and walked away, her job done. And Victor looked into the eyes of the man he'd once called brother. Now comes the part where betrayal pays its price. Rocco's hand stopped inches from his jacket. Victor pressed the gun harder against his ribs. I said don't. The restaurant continued around them. Forks scraped plates. Wine glasses clinked. Conversations hummed like nothing had changed. But at table 6, the air had turned to stone. Rocco's face shifted through emotions too fast to name. Shock, fear, then something worse. Calculation. Victor, he said carefully. Whatever you think you know. I know everything, Victor interrupted. His voice was quiet. Lethal. The rehab centers. The shell companies. The girls you moved through Gary. And I know you took Lucia. Made her think I wanted her dead. Kept her locked up for 18 months. Rocco's jaw clenched. Sweat beaded at his temple. You're making a mistake. The only mistake, Victor said, was trusting you. He pulled a small device from his pocket, set on the table between them. The recording device Naomi had planted. The red light blinked steadily. Rocco stared at it. Understanding washed over his face. Everything he just said, every confession, every detail about the trafficking network, all recorded. You set me up, Rocco breathed. You set yourself up, Victor corrected. I just gave you the rope. Rocco's eyes darted toward the exits. Dante stood at the front door, arms crossed. Silvano blocked the kitchen hallway. No escape. No vacup. What do you want? Rocco asked. His voice had lost its confidence. Now he just sounded tired. Victor Lundkluser. I want you to disappear. Tonight. No police. No trial. Just gone. And when you're gone, every file you kept, every name, every location, every transaction gets delivered to the FBI. The network burns. The girls get found. And your name becomes a warning. Rocco's hands trembled on the table. And if I refuse, then I kill you right here, Victor said simply. And the files still get delivered. Your choice is how much you suffer first. For a long moment, Rocco just stared at him. Then his shoulders sagged. Whatever fight had been in him drained away. She was insurance, Rocco said quietly. That's all. I thought if things ever went bad between us, I'd have leverage. But then she escaped. And I panicked. You panicked, Victor repeated. So you tried to kill her. I tried to fix it, Rocco snapped. You think this was personal? It was business. Always business. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. Business. Like Lucia was a transaction. Like 3 years of grief and rage meant nothing. Stand up, Victor said. Rocco hesitated, then slowly rose from his chair. Naomi appeared from nowhere, professional as ever. She handed Victor a to-go bag. Inside was a change of clothes, a fake passport, and a one-way ticket to somewhere Rocco would never return from. Back exit, Victor said. My car's waiting. You get in, you leave, and you never come back to this city. Understand? Rocco nodded. His face had gone gray. They walked through the restaurant together. Victor kept the gun hidden, but close. To anyone watching, they were just two men leaving dinner early. No drama. No scene. The alley was empty. A black sedan idled near the dumpsters. Dante stood beside it, door already open. Get in, Victor said. Rocco climbed into the back seat. Looked up at Victor one last time. She'll never forgive you, even when she knows the truth. The damage is done. Victor's chest tightened, but his face stayed cold. That's my problem, not yours. He slammed the door. The sedan pulled away, taillights disappearing into the Chicago night. Dante walked over, silent. Where's he going? Somewhere he can't hurt anyone, Victor said. He didn't elaborate. Dante didn't ask. Inside the restaurant, Naomi was wiping down table 6, collecting the recording device. erasing every trace of what had just happened. Victor watched her through the window. She'd risked everything for a girl she barely knew, had walked into his world with nothing but courage and a photograph. And now Rocco Varela was gone, erased, like he'd never existed. But the hardest part was still coming, because Lucia still didn't know the truth, and Victor had no idea how to tell her. The files hit the FBI Chicago office at 3 in the morning. No return address, no note, just a flash drive containing 5 years of evidence. Bank records, property deeds, videosurveillance, testimonies from girls who'd escaped, and a spreadsheet with 216 names. By sunrise, the operation was in motion. Federal agents stormed 4 rehab facilities across Indiana and Illinois, kicked down doors, cut locks, found 32 girls locked in basement rooms that weren't on any official floor plans, ages 14 to 23. Some had been missing for years. Others had families who didn't even know they were gone. The headlines exploded before noon. Network news, local stations, every outlet ran the same story. Massive trafficking ring exposed. Dozens arrested. Hundreds more under investigation. Rocco Varela's name appeared in every article. His properties seized. His accounts frozen. Warrants issued. But Rocco Varela was already gone. Victor watched the news from his penthouse. Sipped coffee he couldn't taste. The city was waking up to a truth it had ignored for years. And his name wasn't anywhere in the coverage. Naomi had been right. Quiet justice. His phone buzzed. A text from Dante. It's done. No loose ends. Victor deleted the message. Poured the coffee down the sink. Then he grabbed his keys and walked out. He drove north, past the city limits, past the suburbs, out into the empty stretch of highway that led to Lake Geneva. The morning sun climbed behind him, casting long shadows across the road. Naomi had given him the address 2 days ago. A safe house tucked into the woods. Isolated. Protected. The kind of place you only found if you knew exactly where to look. Victor pulled up to a small cabin an hour later. Single story. Guden exterior. A porch with peeling paint. It looked abandoned, but smoke curled from the chimney. He sat in the car for a long time. Engine off. Hands gripping the wheel. Inside that cabin was his daughter. Alive. Real. But broken in ways he couldn't fix. What would he say? How could he explain 3 years of silence? 3 years of believing she was dead while she believed he wanted her that way? Victor's chest ached. He'd faced down rival gangs, had survived prison, had built an empire from nothing. But this moment terrified him more than anything in his life. He got out of the car, walked to the porch, knocked twice. Footsteps inside. Then the door cracked open. Naomi stood there. She looked exhausted, like she'd been up all night. She knows you're coming, Naomi said quietly. But she's scared. I'm scared too, Victor admitted. Naomi stepped aside. She's in the kitchen. I'll be on the porch if you need me. Victor walked inside. The cabin smelled like coffee and wood smoke. Simple furniture. Boardrooms. Nothing fancy. Just survival. And there, sitting at a small table by the window, was Lucia. She'd grown. Her hair was longer. Her face sharper. But her eyes, those eyes that had haunted him for 3 years, were the same. She looked up when he entered. Didn't stand. Didn't speak. Just watched him with an expression he couldn't read. Victor stopped a few feet away. Gave her space. Hi, baby girl, he said softly. Lucia's hands tightened around her coffee mug. Don't call me that. The words hit like bullets. But Victor nodded. Okay, I won't. Silence stretched between them. Outside, birds sang. Inside, everything was still. Naomi told me what you did, Lucia finally said. Her voice was flat, guarded. About Rocco. About the files. I should have done it sooner, Victor said. I should have known. Should have seen it. You should have looked for me, Lucia shot back. Her voice cracked. They told me you knew, that you signed off on it. And I believed them because you stopped searching. Victor's throat tightened. They show me a body. Ashes. Evidence. I thought you were gone. So you just accepted it? Tears filled Lucia's eyes now. You didn't even question it. I questioned everything, Victor said, his voice breaking. I tore this city apart. But they buried the truth so deep I couldn't find it. And when the grief broke me, when I couldn't breathe without seeing your face. I stopped because I thought staying angry would kill me. Lucia looked away, wiped her eyes roughly. I hate you for giving up. I know, Victor said, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm sorry. She didn't respond, just sat there, trembling, holding herself together by a thread. Victor wanted to cross the room, wanted to hold her, wanted to take away every scar Rocco had left. But he stayed where he was, because forcing her to accept him now would only break her more. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Victor said quietly. I'm just asking you to let me try. Lucia looked back at him. Her face was wet with tears. I don't know if I can. That's okay, Victor said. I'll wait. For a long time, neither of them moved. Then Lucia stood, walked across the room, and stopped right in front of him. She looked up, searched his face, then, slowly, placed her hand in his. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. It was just the beginning. Outside, Naomi watched through the window, smiled faintly, then turned away, giving them privacy. But healing takes time, and some wounds never fully close. 3 weeks passed before Lucia spoke more than a few words at a time. Victor visited the cabin every other day, brought groceries, fixed the porch railing, sat on the couch while she read by the window. They didn't talk much. Didn't need to. Just being in the same room was enough. Naomi came too. She and Lucia had a rhythm. Quiet conversations. Long walks by the lake. The kind of trust that didn't need explaining. On the 4th week, Lucia asked Victor to stay for dinner. They ate at the small kitchen table. Pasta, garlic bread. Nothing fancy, but it was the first meal they'd shared in 3 years. I'm thinking about changing my name, Lucia said suddenly. Victor looked up. To what? I don't know yet, she said. But Lucy Rivers feels more like me now than Lucia D'Angelo ever did. The words hurt, but Victor understood. Whatever name you choose, you're still my daughter. Lucia's eyes softened. I know. I just need to figure out who I am first. Victor nodded. Take your time. They finished eating in comfortable silence. Then Lucia stood, cleared the plates, and paused by the sink. Naomi told me you stepped back. From the business. I did, Victor said. Handed everything to Dante. I'm done with that life. Why? Victor looked at her. Really looked at her. Because I spent 3 years building an empire to honor a ghost. And now that you're here, alive, I don't want to waste another second on something that doesn't matter. Lucia's eyes filled with tears again. But this time, she didn't look away. I'm still angry at you. I know, and I don't know if I'll ever stop being angry. I know, Victor said, but I'll be here anyway. Lucia crossed the room, sat down next to him, and for the first time since he'd walked back in her life, she leaned her head on his shoulder. Victor's breath caught. He didn't move, didn't speak, just let her stay there, feeling the weight of her trust. Outside, the sun set over the lake. The sky turned orange and pink, and inside the cabin, 2 broken people sat together, learning how to heal. Naomi watched from a porch. She'd done what she came to do, brought a father and daughter back together, gave him a chance most people never got. But her part in this story was almost over. The next morning, Victor found her packing her car. You're leaving, he asked. My work here's done, Naomi said simply. Lucia doesn't need me anymore. She needs you. Victor stamped closer. I never thank you. Not really. Naomi smiled. You don't need to. Yes, I do, Victor insisted. You risked everything. Walked into my world with nothing but a photograph and courage. You could have sold that information, could have used it against me, but you didn't. You chose justice over profit, and you saved my daughter's life. Naomi looked at him for a long moment. You're a good man, Victor. You just forgot for a while. She climbed into her car, started the engine. Victor leaned down to the window. If you ever need anything, I know where to find you, Naomi said. Then she drove away, disappearing down the dirt road. Victor stood there until the dust settled. Then he walked back into the cabin. Lucia was standing by the window, watching the road. She's really gone? Yeah, Victor said. But she'll come back. People like her always do. Lucia turned to him. What do we do now? Victor smiled. We figure out. Together. And for the first time in years, the future didn't feel like a prison. 2 months later, Victor sat in the back corner of La Fera. Different table this time. Not table 6. That one carried too many ghosts. The restaurant hummed with its usual energy. Golden light. Expensive wine. Whispered deals. But Victor wasn't here for business. He was here because Lucia had asked to meet. She walked in at 7 sharp. Dressed simple. Jeans and a sweater. Hair pulled back. She looked healthier now. The hollowness in her eyes had started to fade. She spotted him. Walked over. Sat down without hesitation. "You came," Victor said. "I said I would," Lucia replied. They ordered food. Made small talk. It felt almost normal. Almost easy. Halfway through the meal, Lucia set down her fork. "I've been seeing a therapist." "That's good," Victor said. "She asked me what I wanted," Lucia continued. "Not what I needed. Not what I should do. Just what I wanted." Victor waited. "I want to help other girls," Lucia said. "The ones still trapped. The ones who don't have someone like Naomi fighting for them." Victor's chest swelled with pride. "You'd be good at that." "I think so too," Lucia said. "But I'll need money. Resources. Connections. Whatever you need," Victor said immediately. "I'll make it happen." Lucia smiled. A real smile. The first one he'd seen since she was 16. "I knew you'd say that." They finished dinner. Walked out together. And for the first time, Victor felt like he'd done something right. As they stood on the sidewalk, Lucia turned to him. "I'm not ready to come back to the city." "Not yet." "Understand," Victor said. "But I want you to visit," she added. "More often. Like a real dad." Victor's throat tightened. "I'd like that." Lucia hugged him. Quick but genuine. Then she pulled back, climbed in her car, and drove away. Victor watched her go. Then he pulled out his phone, texted Dante. "Set up a foundation. For trafficking survivors. Whatever it costs." Dante's reply came fast. "On it, boss." Victor slipped the phone back into his pocket. Looked up at the Chicago skyline. The city that had taken everything from him. The city that had given it all back. He thought about Rocco. About justice. About the choices that define a man. Power didn't come from violence. It came from knowing when to walk away. And Victor D'Angelo was finally learning how. Because redemption isn't loud. It's a quiet rebuild, one day at a time. 6 months after the night at La Fera, Victor sat at a new table. The restaurant buzzed around him. Same golden light. Same expensive silence. But everything had changed. He wasn't here for deals. Wasn't here for power. He was here because this place had become a strange, kind of sacred ground, where his life had split into before and after. Naomi walked past his table. She'd been promoted months ago, managed the entire staff now. She caught his eye, smiled, and set down a glass of wine he hadn't ordered. "On the house," she said. "You don't have to do that," Victor said. "I know," Naomi replied. "But you look like you could use it." She started to walk away. Victor stopped her. "How's school?" Naomi had enrolled in a social work program. Nights and weekends. Working toward the degree she'd always wanted. "Exhausting," she said. "But good." "Lucia asks about you," Victor said. "Wants you to visit." "I will," Naomi promised. Soon, she disappeared back into the flow of the restaurant. Victor sipped the wine. Thought about how much had changed in half a year. Lucia's foundation was already operating. 3 shelters opened. 40 girls rescued. More coming every week. She ran it from the cabin by the lake, surrounded by people she trusted. Victor funded it all. Quietly. No press. No recognition. Just money moving where it mattered. Rocco's name had faded from the headlines. The investigation closed. The network dismantled. And somewhere far from Chicago, Rocco Varela lived under a different name, knowing he could never come back. Victor's phone buzzed. A text from Lucia. She smiled today. "You did good, Dad." The message came with a photo. Lucia standing with a teenage girl. Both smiling. Both alive. Victor stared at the screen. His chest felt full. Heavy in the best way. For 3 years, he'd lived in darkness. Built an empire on grief and rage. Thought power was the only language that mattered. But a waitress with a folded note had taught him different. Justice didn't need noise. Healing didn't need headlines. Sometimes the most powerful thing a man could do was step back and let the people he loved find their own way forward. Victor finished his wine. Left cash on the table. More than the bill required. As he stood to leave, Naomi appeared one more time. slipped something under his napkin. He looked down. Another folded note. Victor Smilj. Picked it up. Read it. Thank you for choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. He looked up. Naomi was watching from across the room. She nodded once, then turned away. Victor folded the note carefully, put it in his pocket next to the bracelet Lucia had made him years ago, and walked out into the Chicago night. The city sparkled around him, full of danger and possibility, full of people fighting battles no one else could see. And somewhere in the noise, quiet justice moved like a whisper, changing everything, one person at a time. Lucia's hand shook as she reached for the coffee cup. Victor sat across from her in the cabin's small kitchen. Morning light spilled through the window, turning everything soft and gold. But nothing about this moment felt gentle. She'd barely slept. He could see it in the dark circles under her eyes, in the way she held herself like she might shatter. They used to tell me you were coming, Lucia said suddenly. Her voice was rough, raw. Every time I tried to run, every time I fought back, they'd say, "Your father knows where you are. He's the one who put you here." Victor's chest caved in. He wanted to speak, wanted to tell her it was all lies. But he forced himself to stay quiet, to let her say everything she needed to say. "I believe them," Lucia continued. Tears streamed down her face now. "Because you stopped looking, because the searching stopped and the silence started, and I thought you'd finally gotten rid of me." "Never," Victor whispered. The word broke coming out. "Never, Lucia. I buried an empty coffin. I mourned you every single day. I would have burned this entire world down if I'd known you were alive." Lucia looked up at him. Her eyes were storms. "But you didn't know. And that's the part one can't get past." "How did you not know?" Victor's hands clenched on the table. "Because I trusted the wrong man. Because I let grief blind me. Because I failed you in every way a father can fail." The silence that followed felt like drowning. Then Lucia stood, walked to the window, stared out at the lake. "Naomi says you gave up everything," she said quietly. "The business, the power, all of it. It doesn't matter anymore," Victor said. "None of it ever mattered. Only you." Lucia turned. Her face was wet, but her jaw was set, determined. "I don't forgive you yet. Maybe I never will. But I want to try. I want to see if we could be something again." Victor's throat closed up. He nodded because words wouldn't come. Lucia crossed the room, stopped right in front of him. "But you have to promise me something." "Anything," Victor said. "No more secrets," Lucia said. "No more half-truths. If we're going to do this, if we're going to rebuild, I need complete honesty, even when it hurts." "You have my word," Victor said. Lucia studied his face for a long moment. Then she held out her hand. Victor took it. Her fingers were cold, trembling, but they held on. Outside, Naomi stood on the porch. She'd given them space, but stayed close enough to help if needed. Now she watched through the window as father and daughter sat back down at the table, talking, really talking, for the first time in 3 years. Naomi smiled, pulled out her phone, texted Victor's number. "Take your time. I'll be here when you're ready." Inside, Victor's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, read the message, then looked back at Lucia. "There's someone I want you to meet," he said. "When you're ready." Her name's Dante's sister. She runs a support group for survivors. Naomi thinks you two would connect. Lucia wiped her eyes. "Maybe. Not today. But maybe soon." "No rush," Victor said. "We got time now." Lucia's lip trembled. "Do we?" "Because I spent 3 years thinking I was out of time. Thinking every day might be my last. And now I don't know how to live like I have a future." Victor reached across the table, covered her hand with his. "Then we'll learn together. One day at a time. One conversation at a time. Until the future stops feeling like a threat." Lucia looked down at their joined hands. Her father's fingers were scarred, rough from years of violence and survival. But they were gentle now. "I'm not the girl you remember," she said softly. "I'm not the man I was either," Victor replied. "But maybe that's okay. Maybe we get to be new versions of ourselves." For the first time since he'd walked back into her life, Lucia squeezed his hand back. It was small, fragile, but it was real. Outside, the lake rippled in the wind. Birds called to each other. And inside the cabin, 2 broken people sat in the wreckage of their past, trying to build something better. Naomi watched them for another moment. Then she walked down to the water's edge, pulled out her phone again. This time she called the rescue program coordinator. "It's Naomi," she said when the woman answered. "I need to talk about expanding. We got funding now. Serious funding. And I want to help more girls before it's too late." The coordinator's voice brightened. "How much funding are we talking?" "Enough to change everything," Naomi said. "Because that's what quiet justice did. It didn't just save one person. It rippled outward, touched lives that would never know the full story, created chains of healing that stretched farther than anyone could see." And somewhere in Chicago, in a penthouse that Victor no longer lived in, Dante was meeting with lawyers, setting up the foundation, making sure every dollar went exactly where Lucia wanted it to go. The work had just begun, but first, Lucia had to decide if she was strong enough to lead it. For months later, Lucia stood in front of a room full of strangers. The community center in downtown Chicago was small but clean. Folding chairs arranged in a circle. Coffee station in the corner. Fluorescent lights that hummed too loud. 16 women sat waiting. Ages ranging from 18 to 40. All survivors. All carrying scars that didn't show on the surface. Lucia's hands trembled as she gripped her notes. This was her first time speaking publicly. Her first time telling her story to people who weren't Naomi or her father. Victor sat in the back row. He'd driven her here, had offered to wait in the car. But Lucia had asked him to stay. "Just don't make a sound," she'd said. "I need to know you're there, but I can't look at you or I'll lose it." He nodded, sat down, became invisible. Now Lucia cleared her throat. My name is Lucy. And 3 years ago, I was trafficked by someone my family trusted." The room went still. Every eye locked on her. "I'm not going to tell you all the details," Lucia continued. Her voice steadied as she spoke. "Because this isn't about what happened to me. It's about what we do next. How we survive. How we take back the power they tried to steal." A woman in the front row nodded. Her eyes were wet. "I spent 3 years hating my father," Lucia said, "believing he betrayed me. And when I found out the truth, that he'd been lied to, that he'd grieved me, I didn't know what to do with that. Because hate is easier than forgiveness. Anger is easier than healing." She paused, glanced at her notes, then set them aside. "But I'm learning something," Lucia said. "Healing isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending the trauma never happened. It's about deciding that what happened to us doesn't get to define what happens next." More nods around the circle. A few women wiping tears. "So here's what I want to do," Lucia continued. "I want to build something, a network of support, safe houses, counseling, job training, whatever it takes to help women like us rebuild. And I want you to help me, because I can't do this alone. None of us can." The room erupted, not in applause, in something deeper, in recognition, in hope that had been buried too long. After the meeting, women lined up to talk to Lucia, to share their stories, to ask how they could get involved. Victor watched from the back, pride swelling in his chest, so big it hurt. Naomi appeared beside him. She'd driven separately, had sat in the middle row, supporting without hovering. "She's incredible," Naomi said softly. "She always was," Victor replied. "I just forgot to see it." They stood together in silence as Lucia worked the room, shaking hands, exchanging numbers, building the foundation of something that would outlast all of them. An hour later, the community center emptied. Lucia collapsed into a chair, exhausted but smiling. "You were perfect," Naomi said, sitting beside her. "I was terrified," Lucia admitted. "That's what made it perfect," Naomi said. "You were real, and they felt it." Victor approached slowly. "I'm proud of you, Lucy." Lucia looked up at him. She'd started using Lucy full-time now, had legally changed her name last month. It was her choice, her identity, and Victor respected it completely. "Thank you for being here," Lucy said. "I know it wasn't easy." "Easiest thing I've ever done," Victor said. They drove back to the cabin together. Naomi followed her car. The three of them had fallen into a strange kind of family. Not traditional, not perfect, but real. That night, they sat on the porch, watched the stars come out over the lake. "I've been thinking," Lucy said, "about what comes next." "Yeah?" Victor asked. "I want to go back to school," Lucy said. "Finish my degree. Maybe study social work. Like Naomi. Naomi smiled. You'd be amazing at it. But I want to keep running the foundation too, Lucy continued. And I want to expand. Open more shelters. Reach more cities. Whatever you need, Victor said. The money's there. Lucy turned to him. I don't just want your money, Dad. I want your help. Your connections. Your experience. Not the violent parts, but the strategic parts. The way you build an empire, I want to use that knowledge to build something good. Victor's eyes burned. She'd call him Dad. First time since the reunion. I'm in, he said. His voice cracked. Whatever you need. I'm in. Lucy smiled, leaned her head on his shoulder. And for the first time in years, Victor felt like he'd finally found his purpose. Not power. Not revenge. Not empire. Just this. Helping his daughter heal. And helping her heal others in the process. Naomi watched them. Felt the weight of what they'd built together. Then she stood. I should get going, she said. Early shift tomorrow. Stay, Lucy said. Just for a little while longer. So Naomi stayed. And the three of them sat under the stars, talking about the future. About the women they'd save. About the network they'd build. About quiet justice spreading like wildfire. Because redemption isn't a moment. It's a lifetime of choices. 1 year later, Victor walked into La Fera for the last time. The restaurant looked the same. Golden light. Crystal glasses. Whispered power. But Victor didn't belong here anymore. He'd come to say goodbye. Naomi was behind the bar now. Full manager. She'd finished her degree 3 months ago. Social work license in hand. But she still worked weekends at the restaurant. So it kept her grounded. She saw him enter. Smiled. Poured a glass of wine without asking. Victor sat at the bar. Not table 6. That table had been retired. Turned into a storage closet. Some ghosts didn't deserve shrines. Big night? Naomi asked. Lucy's opening the 4th shelter, Victor said. Milwaukee. We're driving up tomorrow for the ceremony. I heard, Naomi said. She invited me. I'll be there. Victor sipped the wine. You changed my life, you know that. Naomi shook her head. I just handed you a note. You did the rest. You risked everything, Victor said. For a girl you barely knew. For a man who could have killed you. What? Naomi was quiet for a moment. Then she said, because someone did it for me once. When I was 17. When I thought I was out of options. A stranger stepped in. Saved my life. And I promised myself I'd pay it forward. Victor stared at her. I never knew. You didn't need to, Naomi said. That's the thing about quiet justice. It doesn't need witnesses. It just needs to be done. They sat in comfortable silence. Around them, the restaurant hummed. But Victor felt like he was in a different world now. A better one. His phone buzzed. A text from Lucy. Don't forget the speech tomorrow. And don't cry. I need at least one of us to hold it together. Victor left. Showed Naomi the message. She's got your number, Naomi said. She always did, Victor replied. He finished the wine. Left a ridiculous tip. Then stood to go. Victor, Naomi called after him. He turned. You're a good man now, she said. Don't forget that. Victor nodded. I won't. He walked out into the Chicago night. The city sparkled around him. Full of stories. Full of people fighting battles no one else could see. And somewhere in that noise, Lucy was changing the world. One shelter at a time. One survivor at a time. Victor pulled out his phone. Scrolled to a photo Lucy had sent him last week. Her standing in front of the new Milwaukee shelter. Smiling. Confident. Alive. He'd printed it. Framed it. Hung it in the small apartment he lived in now. No penthouses. No empire. Just a 1-bedroom with a view of the park. And it was enough. More than enough. The next morning, Victor and Lucy drove to Milwaukee together. Naomi met them there. The ceremony was small but powerful. Local officials. Survivors. Donors. Press. Lucy gave a speech that brought the room to tears. Talked about second chances. About choosing healing over hatred. About building futures out of wreckage. When it was Victor's turn to speak, he kept it short. My daughter taught me something, he said. Power isn't about control. It's about knowing when to let go. And justice isn't about vengeance. It's about making sure the next person doesn't have to suffer the way you did. He looked at Lucy. She was crying, but smiling too. So this shelter isn't just a building, Victor continued. It's a promise. That we see you. That we believe you. and that you're not alone anymore. The room erupted in applause. After the ceremony, Lucy pulled Victor aside. "Thank you," she said, "for everything, for changing, for showing up, for being the father I needed." Victor's voice broke. "Thank you for giving me another chance." They hugged, long and tight, and when they pulled apart, Victor realized something. He'd finally paid his debt, not to the city, not to his empire, but to the one person who'd always mattered most. That night, as they drove back to Chicago, Lucy fell asleep in the passenger seat. Victor glanced over at her, at the peace on her face, and he thought about the note that had started it all. 7 words that had changed everything. "Your daughter is alive. She's not safe." Naomi had been right about the first part, wrong about the second, because Lucy was safe now. Not because Victor had protected her, but because she'd learned to protect herself. And that was the greatest gift he could have given her. Victor pulled out his phone, sent one last text to Naomi. "Thank you for everything." Her reply came fast. "The world needs more quiet justice. Keep spreading it." Victor smiled, put the phone away, and drove into the night. Behind him, the city lights faded. Ahead, the road stretched dark and endless, full of possibility. And somewhere in the silence, justice moved like a whisper, changing everything, one choice at a time. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that redemption is possible and that justice doesn't always have to be loud to be powerful, then we need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on those notifications, because we're building a community here, a place where stories like this inspire real change. Drop a comment below and tell us, what does quiet justice look like in your life? How have you seen someone choose healing over hatred? Your words matter. Your story matters. And someone out there needs to hear it today. Share this video with someone who needs hope. Let's create a ripple effect of courage and compassion. See you in the next story. And remember, the most powerful thing you can do is show up, speak truth, and never give up on the people you love.